All right. Mandalorian season 3 trailer debuted this week. Super wild card weekend, Monday night. Tom Brady, crap in the bed, potentially his last game. But we did get a Mandalorian season 3 trailer. What do you think, Ricky Flex? Expectations going into this season? What do you got?
They got to be high. All right. We said it at the top. This is the best Star Wars show there is. The expectations have to be high, especially after season 2. And then Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and Grogu coming to save the day for Boba Fett. I thought the trailer was great. I didn't think it was the best trailer ever or anything of that nature, but it did get me excited. Going to Mandalore, Grogu. Grogu's active, not falling asleep after picking up a guy. Love that. Using the Force. Love that. Luke taught him well. Don't pass out after using the Force. We're on to bigger things, Grogu.
Improvement, growing.
Exactly. So I can't wait for this season. I don't know how you top season 2 because just Mandalore. I like that. That was the one thing holding me back in this. Actually, two things holding me back. That one is I just don't know where you go that will beat that peak in season 2. Like here, like, oh, you're gonna face a bunch of Mandalore and try to become like the kid, or like you're trying to get for forgiveness. Like that's kind of a lame storyline. To like that's the big storyline, but obviously that's not like you're gonna have Esposito back here. You're gonna get everyone back here, but like I want to know like what's the bigger thing. Bo-Katan will probably be in the mix there. Probably be a big bad here. So I'm interested. And then the second thing is Grogu, like throwing the guy. Yeah, sure. I wish they gave me a little more though. Like maybe throwing like a big animal. I don't know, like a dinosaur level type of animal using the Force. Give me some more Force power with Grogu. Get me excited that not only will he not fall asleep, but he's going to be just a force to be reckoned with.
I would like to see. I have high expectations. Like you talk about the season, I have high expectations for Grogu and like where he goes in this season. Uh, I feel like you're right. The moments we've seen him, like from the first season, as literally, well, he's 50 years old, but at the same time, he appears as an infant. Seems like he's eating baby food. He's spitting up and he's spitting up that blue stuff. He's throwing up.
Yes.
But now, and you said he's like passing out when he uses the Force. Now he has the training under one Luke Skywalker, right? When he goes with him at the end of season 2, reunited during the Book of Boba Fett. Now I would like to see Grogu come into his own a little bit, maybe be able to stand alone aside from the Mandalorian. We talked about the future of the Star Wars universe. I wouldn't be surprised if in the very near future, right, this season proves that Grogu potentially can act on his own and not go with the Mandalorian. A spinoff, I think, is inevitable with a Grogu type character. And what were you going to say? You seemed like you were about to.
We got to go off of that because I was going to mention this. I have this written down. So this got me the idea from when you said it in the beginning. Do you think, going off of your one day, if you were Kathleen Kennedy, you would have not a Mandalorian movie because this is the show, but whenever, maybe, I'm not saying this season, but whenever the Mandalorian dies or whatever, or Grogu officially leaves the Mandalorian for maybe Jedi training again, and he does eventually like do the Jedi training. He gets a second chance. Back. But then he gets his own movie and he becomes a mini Yoda, and that's what you do. And then after the Skywalker saga, it's the Grogu saga, like or something.
The Grogu saga. God damn it, Ricky Flex. I can see this because the Mandalorian, the name itself and the character itself is so intertwined with Disney Plus and the TV format. Maybe this is like the avenue you can go for a new film, right? It's like a proven commodity. You know, it could sell toys. You know, it could be someone that could be a franchise. I guess like focal point, right? With Grogu, Baby Yoda. Maybe he begins to like actually speak. Imagine him saying his first words in this season. Like, dude, it'll be
I hate
pins and needles. I'm on pins and needles. What will be Grogu's first word?
Mando.
Yoda. Maybe Force Ghost Yoda shows up. No. Mando probably is his first words. Mando. That would
get you.
That would be one of the biggest moments in TV history. If his first words was Mando.
Would a tear come down your eye or what?
Yeah, it's like Mando saves him, right? through near death, and then he goes Mando. Like that would be electric. All right, we should write this show. I think
about to
also
get
I would
done.
like to see some flexibility out of Grogu. I want to see him getting a little bit more agile. We've seen him bouncing around, right, with Luke Skywalker during the Book of Boba Fett. And we talk about the idea of him possibly going on his own adventure here. I don't know if his hands are big enough to hold a lightsaber or a blaster of some sort. We know he's separated from the Jedi. Maybe you have like him embracing the idea of becoming a Mandalorian himself. He's not the prototypical looking Mandalorian, right? When you look at Bo-Katan, you look at Jin Jardin. But, he has walked away from this Jedi lifestyle for Mandalorian. Maybe he takes on the mantle eventually, and maybe that's his path, Ricky.
So like in the trailer, I did think about that, like saying like, are they, because like some of the dialogue, they kept showing Grogu's face, like saying like, not this is the way, but like the Mandalorian way. Like they were hinting at like specific Mandalorian things, and they kept showing Grogu's face.
He is the Mandalorian.
It's just like, wait, like what are we trying to imply here? Like, are you trying to imply like, oh, the show is Grogu's show, which it might be, whatever, Baby Yoda, but or are you trying to imply that at the end of the season, this guy, instead of once was next to Luke Skywalker training to be a Jedi, is now going to be training to be a Mandalorian as a Yoda? Like, what?
I don't
Really?
know.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, I do want to say I was shocked when I saw the trailer and the amount of people who weren't aware of Grogu reuniting with the Mandalorian. And it tells
They didn't
me
watch Boba Fett.
that people didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett. And it starts to like raise questions. Does it have the connectivity of like Marvel Cinematic Universe where we know things are going to connect and we feel a responsibility to watch all of these projects? I don't think Star Wars TV has established that yet. We can look at Andor. Not everyone has seen Andor. There's not much connectivity here. Did everyone watch Obi-Wan? Probably more people watch Obi-Wan, obviously, than Andor. But Mandalorian, if it doesn't have the name Mandalorian in it and it's not like intertwined in the culture, Book of Boba Fett wasn't really intertwined in the culture until Mandalorian showed up. Still, people were pretty like they were willing to ignore the show because they heard such terrible things about the Book of Boba Fett. Even the writers of the Book of Boba Fett didn't believe in the character enough and the story enough to not include the Mandalorian. I just think it doesn't have, Lucasfilm doesn't have that built-in responsibility viewing from its audience that the MCU has. Did that cross your mind at all? Do you think we're going to have some re-explaining during this season of how these two have reunited?
Well, the re-explaining is going to be an opening credit sequence similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi, where the opening 5 minutes are going to be opening credits, and it's going to be like, oh, this is what happened in the prequels, and for this is going to be, oh, this is what happened in the Book of Boba Fett. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a sick montage similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, won't be as good, but that will catch everyone up, and then you're fine. But I do agree there is a problem in Lucasfilm, and it's starting to happen in Marvel MCU because the shows just aren't keeping up to what they were Infinity Saga for the movies. Like, we didn't watch the Miss Marvel. We didn't watch Miss Marvel. We didn't watch that one. I had to think hard about that name for a second. And we watched She-Hulk, but a lot of people bailed on She-Hulk. Like, Marvel's starting to feel this. Lucasfilm, Star Wars is already feeling it. You're right. And Andor is a great example. They had to put that on cable TV to try to get people to watch it. That's how bad the numbers were for Disney Plus. Our own Johnny Sims, who's like one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know, didn't watch Andor when it was going on. He finally watched it after like we convinced him after so long, and also just social media convinced him.
We brought him on the pod to convince him.
Like it's just not. That's crazy to me how like this guy, a guy who has like Kylo Ren in his on his screensaver, won't watch Andor.
That's crazy. Well, actually, that's not crazy. If you have if he feels a connection to like the sequel trilogy, like Andor is more of like prequel / original trilogy. So
okay, well,
kind of makes sense.
Anyone that has Star Wars, anyone you have Star Wars on your screensaver, you're not watching every single Star Wars property, major property. like that's or major project.
He's
That's like
he's
kind of crazy.
he's got to stop with the Kylo Ren on the phone though. Like you can't do that.
Oh, and no, like it was like his laptop screensaver in like college.
All right, so that was like building on the hype of
Yeah. I'm just saying, like
immediate
clearly that's a big
Lucasfilm
fan.
collab with Disney. Yeah, man. Like, no, I hear you. Like the interconnectivity of these TV shows, it's not always going to work, and there is an oversaturation problem, a discussion that has been going on in the IP era for the last 10 years, where it's like, are we getting bombarded with this content where we feel forced to watch it, but we don't have enough time and we're not drawn to it? I think people are starting to feel that. And like honestly, if I had to return to the Book of Boba Fett, like I will return to those like middle two episodes with the Mandalorian because those were electric. Those were the
Luke
moments
was
of the
great.
Book of Boba Fett that people were drawn to. And it was good TV. Bryce Dallas Howard, she's directed that episode in the middle of the Book of Boba Fett. She's also coming back to direct another episode of The Mandalorian. She is like a surefire hit waiting to happen when it comes to her in the director's chair for this character, Grogu and Mando's interactions and their relationship. She's awesome. I want to talk about Bo-Katan real quick because she doesn't make an appearance in this trailer. Long rumored to be the villain of this season. We have Mando and Grogu. Mando returning to Mandalore, trying to be granted forgiveness for his past transgressions, taking off his helmet because he's addicted to it, wants to see right Grogu eye to eye. Along with many other transgressions he's gone through the first couple seasons here. He wants to be accepted by this fraternity, forgiven, but at the same time, he wields this dark saber that many Mandalorians want and desire and obsess over, almost like the ring in Lord of the Rings. Is Bo-Katan going to be like obsessed and feel possessed by this dark saber? It can lead to her becoming the main villain here. I'm not exactly buying her as the overarching villain of this show. Bo-Katan, I think historically, is not a villain in Star Wars lore. A lot of people have relationships with her from the animated Star Wars universe. You talked about Dave Filoni earlier on in this episode. Do you think there's going to be a larger villain here? Do you think someone overarching? Do you think there's going to be something larger? Maybe where Bo-Katan, it seems like when it goes through a similar trope here, the traditional hero, right, who feels an antagonistic or a rivalry between the hero, the protagonist here, then eventually joins the same side for a common cause.
Exactly. That's what it's gonna be. And my answer is Giancarlo Esposito.
Is he? Is he the guy? Because like I was. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll
He's
let you
got to
go.
come back. He's got to come back. They didn't close that storyline well, for it to end permanently. So I think he's gonna be the guy. And if it's not him, then it's someone new. And who's better than Giancarlo Esposito? This is like really like I don't know if you could do much better than that for a TV series. Like I know Darth Vader was just an Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like Darth Vader's not showing up here. Like there's no one like that iconic coming up here. So like who's a good TV villain? Like Giancarlo Esposito. And I know he just had those comments and like he was doing the rounds because he just had the Kaleidoscope TV series on Netflix come out. And he was saying, I don't want to be a villain. Like I don't want to be typecast as a villain all the time. Like I'm the good guy too. But you're the villain here, bud. Like, come back and be the big bad.
I will say the Mandalorian, what it's become known for, right, especially during season 2 and Book of Boba Fett intersecting, it's the big cameos, the fanfare, the fan service to satisfy right audiences. And who's going to be the big inclusion here? We have a strong feeling that Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill will not be returning after making appearance at the end of season 2 with such a splash, appearing in somehow the Book of Boba Fett. Like,
Insanity.
who's going to be that person? Because I think there's an expectation now with the Mandalorian that you're going to have some tight connection here. Maybe it's a Force ghost. Maybe it's Yoda interacting with Grogu. That's why I said it earlier, where it's like maybe Yoda, like Grogu's first words are Yoda. Maybe he has a connection with him somehow. But like, and we talk about Ahsoka Tano, how she made, like, talk about fanfare, her
Well, that
appearance
show's
in
coming this year
season 2,
too.
and like who's allegedly the big bad of the Ahsoka Tano series is Grand Admiral Thrawn. Will
Yeah.
he be introduced in this season? Who knows?
Good point.
And I do want to say, yeah, so like that's definitely a possibility. And I also saw in this trailer who makes a half-second appearance. It is a man that shows up during season 1, makes a slight appearance in season 2, the really sly-looking guy who wears glasses, who was looking to collect Grogu's blood, right? In season 1, right? So this guy or maybe he's trying to make a clone of Grogu. I don't really know.
Yes.
Maybe someone he's working with, right, is the big bad. But I think that's going to come. Like I think that is a key moment in the trailer. They didn't want to draw much attention to it, but it definitely is on my radar as maybe the overarching story. Maybe someone that's hunting down Grogu still, while Mando is trying to make his uh, mission right for forgiveness on his way back to Mandalore. But there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on here, and I really I'm fascinated by who's going to be that extra person. Who's that person? Because like this is the difference between Andor and the Mandalorian. Mandalorian, you expect the fan service. Who's going to make an appearance here? Andor, it's about where do these characters go? Like, how are we going to be drawn to these new characters in the Star Wars universe? While not Mandor. Mando's all about familiarity. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course, and that's why I love it. And that's why, like, one of the big reasons why I have it over Andor. Not to try to bring it back to that. I'm just saying, like, that's like one of the big things. What the biggest draws is that familiarity, but also the star-studded or IP studded or full Leafs IP out there. You know what I'm saying?
Embraces it, you know?
Yeah, embrace. Thank you. Embraces it, and that's why. And but like it does it not subtly, but it does it in a very good way, seamlessly. It does a really
Yeah.
good job of it.
It's like cinematic type of moments that they bring to a TV screen,
Yes,
you know?
yes, doctor,
Um,
yes.
uh, Before we kind of wrap up this conversation on Mandalorian here, um, like any other predictions you have for the upcoming season? Anything that caught your eye in the trailer that we haven't brought up thus far?
This is gonna be a maybe messed up. Carl Weathers is in this again, and he's also directing again. The town, they are progressing like that town. Remember in season 1, that was a piece of trash, and now it's like looks very nice. Does Carl Weathers die this season?
I think so because it's getting pretty tired of Mando walking up to him, shaking shaking their their
Right.
forearms and grabbing each other. It's
It's
just
getting
like
old.
how many times are we going to do this? Right? It's going to be every season. I guess you could just keep on doing
But,
it,
like, he
but
could be behind the camera, he's still a part of it, but
it doesn't
he's
feel
not on
as
screen
he's
anymore.
not as relevant. Like honestly, I don't care as
Right.
much about his character. Uh, like a lot of people got to be put up, like get like put on watch here, just because we haven't had many deaths in the Mandalorian.
Hot
Like
seat.
the curly headed girl on Tatooine, like she'd be a prime suspect to potentially be killed in this season as well, right? Like putting her life on the line for Mando for Grogu. I could see that happening. Like there's got to be some stakes that are in this season. You want to talk about what's going to make this season separate itself. We talked about the emotional connection between
Season of
Mando and
stakes.
Grogu. Like season 2, like it has the stakes because Luke Skywalker shows up. He takes Grogu away from Mando. You have the emotional detachment at the end of the season. And now, like, how do you build that up? There's got to be like deaths here, right? I feel like that's the next step because we didn't really get that. Not even like Giancarlo Esposito's character, Moff Gideon, has died yet,
Mm,
you know, and he's been
good point.
the big bad during most of season 2. End of season 1, he makes his grand appearance. Like, there's got to be something big that happens during this season that's not just a cameo. It's got to be, hey, like, this is life or death, you know? That's going to like make audiences like take the show even more seriously than they do already.